It's grand. You
Here,
don't
I
need
got
to worry.
the, you know,
You're
a
good.
little
I really
You're
little
wish I had
stage
my
good.
fright
soundboard for
knocks
this.
lecterns over, tears down the screen.
You're
Um,
doing fine. You're doing fine. Calm down.
okay. Yes.
Take a
Hi.
breath.
Hold on, I gotta go get some tomatoes.
Don't do that.
Don't worry,
Is
I won't.
whoever is going to be recording the talk currently recording the talk? I am.
Um, you
Okay,
are
sweet.
excellent.
Sweet. I do not have the disk space to record it from my perspective, but it's kind of boring over here. So, yeah. Okay, hi. Hi, welcome. Hi, I'm Petra Cat. Welcome to my talk. Before we get started, one, as you may have noticed, I have terrible, terrible stage fright. Uh, so, I'm hoping by telling you that and by keeping this talk nice and lighthearted, I'm gonna, help allay that. Second off, I bit my tongue really hard the other day, and it still hurts. So I might sound funny halfway through the talk, and that's me trying not to hurt my tongue. Uh, Anyways, welcome to my talk, Hexcasting, writing a mod with lore. And also, in general, I suppose this advice would apply to how to write other games, if you like. Yep. Alright, so who? I'm Pedricat. I use she, her, and it pronouns. What? I make the Hexcasting mod. I also make a couple other mods currently for Forge. I make this mod called Retro Candles, which nobody downloads, but adds like Torturino and stuff. I also make Pockle, which is my library mod that's letting everyone head pat everyone. If you want a custom head pat sound, then you can subscribe to my Patreon. Uh, what can I say? I know my audience. Um, where? This has a lot of different meanings. Hexcasting is for Forge. Hexcasting is for Fabric. I am planning to have all of the mods I produce in the future, unless they're really small ones, be for both mod loaders. The booth, if you want to go visit the booth, is right over there. It's right behind the enormous Danny mic. Purple hashtag symbol. Yeah, someone's shooting a blaster at it. And you can check out more of the booth, more of the mechanics of the mod there, because this doesn't really talk about mechanics. Also, you can download it on CurseForge. The link to the CurseForge is inside the booth. It's not on Modern right now because I kind of need the ad revenue. So why am I doing this talk? I think it's because we can do better when writing in games and writing in mods. A comment I get a lot about hexcasting is, "Wow, I really like the lore of hexcasting." A comment I do get a lot is, "You go insane along with the flare character," which is something I don't think I've ever heard about another Minecraft mod. And how do we do that? Well, that's what the topic of the talk is. Right. Next slide. So, in case you missed the booth, the hexcasting mod is programmable, stack-based programmable spellcasting inspired by Psi. And so this is like a little diagram of, you take a staff, and you right-click, and it opens this like hexagonal grid that you can't see because we didn't implement that. Anyway, if I draw those patterns with the right stroke order, yeah, let's do a little crowd surfing. And the correct stroke order for all this is displayed in the booth on some scrolls, if you want to go try it out. And let's really hope I don't mess this up in front of a live studio audience. Boing.
Nicely done.
Yep. Ta-da. But anyway, this talk is less about the mechanics, because you can go learn all about the mechanics in the booth. And you could read all about the mechanics in the Patchy book, the Patchouli book, if the Patchouli books weren't broken. And there's also an online version that Winfeed broke their back making. It's really cool. It has all the patterns and everything. Now. Oh, they work now. Oh, awesome. Nice. Anyways, yeah, you can go do that if you like. Read the book, but read the book after the talk, please. But this talk is about lore, not about mechanics. And also, I would like to note that this talk is not really about how to write fiction in general. And this is because I don't really have any particularly profound advice on how to write fiction in general. The only thing I can do is write a whole bunch of stuff. It's probably not going to be good at first, but that's all right. You don't have to show it to anyone. Everything's a learning experience. And yeah, I've written tons of absolute drivel before I wrote the, fairly all right stuff that is hexcasting. Anyways. Before we get started on what makes good lore, I thought it would be, edifying to discuss why we write lore in the first place, right? So why are mod manuals not just like lists of abstract facts, right? What's the point of having a story, having flavor to go along with it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. It's good to keep the player entertained because, as I'm going to discuss in a minute, reading lists of mechanics is a little bit boring. Learning how to do stuff is not the most fun thing in the world sometimes. And so having a lore to like keep the player entertained is good. If you're a good writer, I am, for example, a much better writer than I am a texturer. You can see some pixel art that I did later in the talk, and I think you will agree that it is very good that I have the wonderful Valkyrie yeah, who's getting lots of head fats right now. The wonderful Valkyrie to do all the textures. Thank you. Clap, 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 clap. And finally, it's tradition. Like, Thaumcraft casts a long, long shadow. There's a lot of magic gods that, by tradition have some sort of story to go along with them, some sort of reason why you're doing all this weird stuff. Yeah, I'm getting to that, Chi-Chi. Yeah, so another thing I noticed is that a lot of magic mods have lore with them, but not a lot of tech mods. And why is that? Well, learning mechanics is not the most fun thing in the world. And magic needs a lot more documentation than tech mods. And for the purpose of this talk, I'm talking about magic flavored mods and tech flavored mods. I think we've sort of reached like, post-category new modernism, whatever, in which we kind of realize that the difference between a tech mod and a magic mod is not the most lucrative discussion in the entire world, productive discussion in the entire world. But there is when you're talking about flavor, which I think is kind of the only thing that matters with regards to this distinction. Yeah, Botania exists, of course. That the magic flavored mods tend to have a lot more documentation than tech flavored mods. And why is this? Well, I think it's because we already know science. Like, everybody right now is doing science because they are logging onto their computer and logging onto the Blanketcon server and like watching people. Everyone is doing science right now. Everyone does science when they like wash their hands in the sink and brush their teeth and whatever. It's because there's only one science, right? Like there's one science and there's an infinite like magics, right? And not to be facetious, but tech mods all kind of work the same. Which I guess you could say that they're intuitive, but you could also say they all work the same if you're being bitter. But like any tech mod most tech mods are like you make a block and you right click on it and you have like some slots on the left side and you have some slots on the right side and you click the little button, the arrow in the middle, and then you go read in in your JEI or your REI or MEI. That if you put these blocks on the left side and maybe this fluid on the left side and divide it with n units of power, you get these items on the right hand side, and that applies to like every single tech mod since like industrial craft. And although there are things that make them unique, like create is like a tech mod with giant quotes, but the power system is very unique. There's like nuclear reactors in old industrial craft, stuff like that. But still, a lot of tech mods is stick things on the left, provide it with power, get things out on the right, and then there's a giant dependency tree of like make more upgrades and stuff. On the other hand, that doesn't say, but please write lore for your tech mods. That'd be really cool. One of my favorite things is on the thermal expansion website. There's some musings about like the nature of redstone flux. Like, why can you stick some redstone inside a lead tube and have it transmit power? And it's cool. So please write lore for your tech mods. That would be cool. All right, so anyways, now on to the actual talk. I have identified two things that make for good lore, and they're so important that I put them in a double-sized font. Good lore helps the player learn the mechanics of your mods, and good lore informs the mechanics of your mods, and vice versa. And this will be up at the end of the talk if you want to screen cap that at that point. All right, so the first point, lore that helps the player learn the mechanics. Like I mentioned earlier, reading lists of mechanics is boring. Games were not meant to be school. Millions of lines of patchouli JSON written, but still no real-world use found for boredom. Wanted to read contextless lists of facts anyways for a laugh? We had a tool for that. It was called Wikipedia. Yeah. So
I like
yeah,
that.
thank you. Reading lists of facts is kind of boring. Like I think someone in the not okay, yeah. Someone mentioned in the text chat earlier that it would have been impossible to learn hexcasting if it was not for the lore, not for the flavor that keeps you carried along. Like there's sort of an infamous entry, which is Hexcasting 101, which is like 30 pages long in just like dense technical introduction to how the hell you wave a staff around and do stuff. Um, and I think that would be completely impalatable if it wasn't at least a little bit interesting. Like I'm sprinkling bits of breadcrumbs in there, stuff like, oh, there's this like entity called nature, maybe. And by waving your staff in the air, you're like presenting an argument to nature, and then the media is like the reasoning to back it up. And there's lore sprinkled throughout this mod. And although I didn't finish writing it in time, probably for the 1.0 update, there's going to be lore documents, like letters written in worlds that you go find in dungeon chests and read just for flavor text. And I keep promising this in the next update. Like, I think I've been promising this since like 0.6. But it's going to get done eventually. I promise. I have it all written now. Yes, the lore keeps the player interested long enough to learn the mechanics. And if the player is interested in the mechanics, then maybe you can get them to read your lore also, if you really, really, really want a captive audience. And this makes, if you just follow this point, this makes for totally fine, just completely adequate and palatable writing for mods, right? Like my two case studies for this talk are Thaumcraft and Britannia, just because those are some magic mods I've played a whole lot of. So Thaumcraft is pretty good. Thaumcraft is a good case study for a mod that would be impossible to learn without its lore. Like imagine if instead of them being called aspects, there's like, okay, each item has like these indexed like stuff associated with it. Like a torch has 5 of aspect number 75 and 3 of aspect number 12. And if you put 7 of aspect number 15 and like 8 of aspect number 37 in crafting block 5 and weight, then it produces like like iron crafting component or whatever. That would be completely impossible to understand. Yeah, and Thaumcraft, for its credit, is pretty intuitive, and that's because like all the magic it does is stuff we're sort of used to. Like we know, like there's lots of branches of magic in Thaumcraft, but we all sort of know what they are. Like we know what Golomancy is, but Thaumcraft puts a little bit of a spin of it. We know what alchemy is. Thaumcraft puts a little bit of a spin on it. That kind of stuff. And so it's fine. It's pretty good. It's totally palatable. It's a fine book, and it has a way better texture than the background of my Vacholi book. And Britannia is all right. Britannia is not trying to be the most serious mod in the entire world. There's a lot of jokes in there. But one thing, Britannia, it's still fun. And no, Valkyrie, you're all right. You're all right. You're fine, Valkyrie. One thing Britannia does well is it provides good excuses for its mechanics. Like why do hydrangeas decay after an hour? Well, they just do for some reason. Why can't I find more black lotuses? Well, they just do for some reason. There's a lot of oh, you're hilarious, chat. Every single person saying tater is absolute peak comedy here. I just lost my train of thought because of the frickin' tater.
Take your time.
Yeah, Britannia. Oh yeah, there's a lot of like leaning on the fourth wall and joking about it. And there is a entry called Elven Lore: The Shattering, which sort of explains why are the worlds like this? What are the elves up to? Stuff like that. Oh god.
Did we
I
all
have a
get
tiny
tater?
potato.
I
think we all got a
yeah.
tater. Can you put the tater on? You should be able to put your tater on your head, I think. Like in the hat
Wait,
slot.
Really? Oh, I can't put it in the hat slot. No,
You should be able to put it in the hat slot, I think.
it's not working.
Oh, it doesn't work on fabric. Oh, dang. Okay. Okay.
No.
Willy Willis is now permanently banned from Blanketcon. But yeah, Britannia leans a lot on the fourth wall. It's fun, and there's the Elven Lore: The Shattering, and it's all right. It's perfectly adequate. It's very nice, and it's it's fine. But we can do better than just fine. Like, nobody has played Thaumcraft and said, wow, I feel like I'm really delving into the arcane and going along insane alongside the going insane, pondering the void alongside the player character. Alright, and that's on to the second point, which is lore that informs the mechanics with the fancy law-checked out double pointing arrow symbol. So one thing I think that is very good about hexcasting is that I press the button. There we go. One thing that I think is good about hexcasting is that everything the player character does, the player also pretty much does. Like, I've tried to keep the design of hexcasting really tight in that everything is at most one step removed from waving your staff around in the air casting spells or casting hexes. And a lot of crafting mechanics in mods work an awful lot like this. So like in Thaumcraft, what the player character does when they're doing infusion is, you know, they're boiling down items into their essentia and sticking it in jars and, you know, assembling arcane instruments of power like skulls and candles around your infusion altar and like trying to balance everything so it's not too unstable, and then activating the ritual and just hoping. And that's kind of what the player does. And I think that's why infusion makes for such a compelling mechanic, and also something I think every single other frickin' mod with its infusion mechanic should think about. Stop doing infusion. I'm tired of it. Anyways, and lots of crafting mechanics are like that. In Britannia, you chuck the player character chucks iron ingots into a mana pool and gets mana steel out, and so do you. Stuff like that, etc., etc., etc. But one thing, a mechanic that a lot of mods have that a lot of mods do really poorly, I think, is research. So like in Thaumcraft, like the most recent minigame in Thaumcraft, it's you are told you were like delving, you were like reading ancient books, you were like picking apart mechanisms, you are understanding the nature of aspects, you are doing all these things, and you are expanding your horizons, you are learning more, you are becoming smarter in the study of the arcane, and you're being told all this. But what you're actually doing is doing a whole bunch of mini games, and they're not even interesting mini games. Sorry, Asnor. And so there's an enormous disconnect there between you're being told you're learning, but you're not actually learning how to do anything other than play the minigame. Like, you're not actually getting any better at Thaumcraft by doing the research minigame. And I think the hex-based minigame, I'm not biased for hexagons or anything. Hexagons are the best guns. But stop posting out infusion. I'm tired of seeing it. Yeah. I think part of the reason that the hex minigame was better is that, one, it's a better minigame, but also it actually it requires you to know the aspects. Like modern Thaumcraft 6, you don't need to know any of the aspects. I used to know all that. I used to know all the combinations and the names like the back of my hand when I was little, when I was playing older versions of Thaumcraft. But now you just don't need to know them. It's just like a list of vaguely interesting flavor that you can flip through this one page of the manual if you want to know about. But there's no purpose. There's no reason to learn it. And that might be a reason people liked the old minigame better, because you had to understand the aspects. Even if it wasn't directly becoming better at that topic, you were getting better at the lore of the mod. You were learning. Or like in Astral Sorcery, a mod that I haven't played with very much, but as I understand it, each stage of the mod unlocks a new way to upgrade your altar. Your like Starlight Infusion altar. And then once you do that, you basically get the knowledge of the cosmos downloaded into your mind, and it feels a little bit cheap. Like, where does the knowledge come from? How are you doing this? Is it just like you look at the stars and you suddenly understand? I don't know. All right. And granted, this is not always possible in mods. Like, this is not something that can always be done, but consider making it possible. Right? That's a takeaway here. Make sacrifices for the mechanics in order to make the lore good, if you're trying to make a lore-based mod, and vice versa. Make sacrifices in the lore to make the mechanics work. Right? And I think this is one of the reasons that hexcasting is so powerful, is that there is no research mechanic in hexcasting. Like, the research the player does, there's a little bit of in flavor, but what the player character does is they learn things by, one, delving into dungeons, and like reading ancient documents that taught them this ancient lost art. But mostly they do it through practice. And you know, that's exactly what the player character, what you, the player, does. Like, Yeah, Sam, you've hit it on the head, right? Like, over in the booth over there, you learn how to cast hexes. You are doing exactly the same thing the book describes you doing. And there's a mechanic where I sort of force this on the player, where there's like special spells called great spells, which are like super powerful. They let you do stuff like alter the weather and fly, teleport almost anywhere in the world. And the stroke order for those spells is hidden in dungeons. Like, it's randomized per seed. You have to go find it in dungeon chests and like read the stroke order off of it and cast it that way. And granted, having to explore for your things is not the most amazing mechanic in the entire world. Like everyone's frustrated to A2 because you have to go trekking all over Tarnation to find the meteors. And so I'm considering adding a way that you can like find 1 or 2 scrolls and use a spell to like infuse other scrolls with knowledge to discover the rest of the scrolls you want. But still, you'd have to go discover it and you have to do your own original research. There's zero separation between what the player character does and what you do. And I think that's what like entrains the player along and makes them, feel like this is really, really good lore. Yes, and if you're really frustrated with it, there's a command to give you all the scrolls. It's like hexcasting patterns give all or something. Yeah. All right, so, but I want to emphasize that I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just one person. And here's one mechanic. There's one mechanic and one like thing that's endemic in Magic that I think we should not sort of apply this lore equals the mechanics thing to. That's not always possible. It's not always a good thing. Is going insane needs to be done carefully, and Thaumcraft does not do this. A soapbox. So, all the way back to Lovecraft and before, there's like a history of like, ooh, if you discover too much about this ancient art, you go crazy, you go insane, you go mad. But like, for the love of God, please be respectful. Like, oh my God, like I do not like what Thaumcraft does with warp. Like, first off, like the assertion that your mental health is like some bar that if it goes too high, then you'd become insane and mad, and that's bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. And like the fucking warp mechanic, I swear, the hecking warp mechanics. Someone bleep that out. Yeah, the warp mechanics is like, ooh, you're becoming more anxious and paranoid. Okay, you can write that, but then you like play creeper noises behind the player. Like, don't give your players anxiety. And then you hallucinate brain spiders that like pop out of your head and fight you. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Anger. And like and I'm not like something I took a lot of notes from when I was writing, like, because the player does go insane in hexcasting. Something I took a lot of notes from is Cultist Simulator, which is this game that I enjoy immensely. And one thing that I think Cultist Simulator does very well is that it implements all the insanity and flavor. Like the mental health is, yeah, it's ableist, it's bad. But like the way mental health is implemented in Cultist Simulator is basically you get like, if you get 3 fascination cards, you become too enlightened and you're not stable enough, and then you like hallucinate, and you like lose sight of the power you're trying to summon. And if you get 3 depression cards, you lose because you're so depressed you can't work on your work anymore. And so like if you don't like try to implement the mechanic in flavor only, like Cultist Simulator is good because as you get further into your work, as you become, less connected to reality and more connected to like the arcane and the occult, the writing gets more abstract, gets less concrete, gets more fantastic. And that's something I really tried to copy in hexcasting, is that there's no like mental health bar in hexcasting. It's just you are going insane. That's communicated to you entirely in the flavor text, entirely in the manual. It's just how I write. And if you don't trust yourself to be respectful, make it clear it's a magic mental illness. Like the insanity in hexcasting is caused by like you like shatter the barrier between your mind and media, and it like swirls in, and you like suddenly get like incredible enlightenment like blasted into your brain, and then you gain the ability to overcast, which is if you don't have any media items in your inventory, it'll like steal your health, it'll like consume bits of your mind. And like in real life, that would be like vascular dementia or something. But in hexcasting, it's implemented as you just the notes that your player is ostensibly writing. Yeah, sensitive readers. I'm going to mention that. The notes that the player character is writing gets more and more wild, gets more and more. It's less centered. It's less stable. It's whoosh. Yeah. Yeah, and like get a sensitivity reader if you can. I got several people to proofread the hexacasting book, and I haven't had any problems with it. And you know, I'm also neurodivergent. But you know, that's not an excuse. Anyways, please do not unify the flavor and the mechanic for mental health. I'm going to make that flash because it's that important. Whoops. Oh god. Oh god. I skipped too far ahead. Oh man. Okay. Okay, ignore that. You didn't say anything. Woo. Okay, yay. Ta-da. Okay. Thank you. That's the end of the talk. So here's the 2 points of the talk, if you want to screen cap that. TLDR, good lore, helps the player learn the mechanics and informs the mechanics and vice versa. But don't forget to be creative. Thank you for coming to the talk, and if you have any questions, I'll let some questions queue in. But first, I got some questions submitted via the Google form. So question, yeah, it's already over here. That's really cool. I right click on the mouse icon, G-Dude.
I think it's the green one.
The green one, okay. What's the most important thing to focus on a story for our mods? And in the Google sheet, it specifically was asking between theme and like theme versus mechanics and key items. So first I'd like to note that most mods are about their mechanics. Like if all mods had like top-notch lore, I would not be making this talk. And most players, I guess, pay attention to the mechanics. Like tech mods are basically just the mechanics. Create is just the mechanics. On the other hand, if you want to create like a super thematic, like vibe-inducing mod, like go ahead. Like I think that's an exploration space that hasn't been discovered before, except in like, you know, like Aurora's Decorations, which sort of has a vibe, like decoration mods that sort of have a oh, this is a cottagecore decoration mod. This is like a industrial cyberpunk decoration mod. And I think there's space to be for like a mod that has some mechanics. It's a content mod, but it's really based on creating a vibe. All right, and the second Google form question is, what's the coolest spell someone's made with hexcasting? I have two criteria here. There's a channel on my Discord server called. One moment. I'm gonna drink water.
Take your time.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I am much less anxious than I thought I was. There's a channel on my Discord server, which you can go join in the booth again, called Akashic Records. Shut up, Dad. And it's basically if you create a really, really impressive spell, you can just like post it there. A really impressive hex, you can post it there. And so two things that stand out to me is one, someone made a stronghold triangulator. Like one of like the famous mods from Psi, you know, really advanced science. Was someone made a mod that can triangulate the location of a stronghold. But in hexcasting, what you do is like I couldn't put it on the side because it's too big to fit on the side, and I didn't really want to, you know, trace out each individual pattern because there's like 100 of them. But what it does, it's so freaking cool. It like there's items you can store data to called foci or like spellbooks, and what it does is it like first you throw an ender pearl and you cast it once, and it like it like creates a vector between you and the eye of ender, and like saves that vector to the focus, and then you like walk 100 blocks over and toss it again and cast the spell again, and it like triangulates it again. Like it creates the vector again, and then it figures out where the two vectors intersect, and greater teleports you right there. Like you just like appear on top of the stronghold. It's so freaking cool. And it's a little bit bugged right now, in that it only works if you and the stronghold are in like -X, -Z quadrants or something. But it's like it's very fixable, and like that's really fucking cool. And I also I held a contest a little while ago to if you can make a quine. Which a quine is a program that outputs itself as its output, like outputs its source code as its output. And I made, yeah, greater teleport is a greater spell. And I held a contest. It was like, okay, anyone who can make an artifact that when you you make an artifact and if you hold an empty artifact in your offhand and cast the artifact, it'll create a copy of itself and put it into your offhand. Then you can throw away the old artifact and cast a new artifact with the blank artifact to like keep transferring it. Sort of like a bit of a twist on a coin, and that was really cool to see people's solutions. Like I have no idea. When I first started making this mod, the first commit to this mod, the GitHub repo was on Christmas last year. And when I first started making this mod, when I first started gathering its like first few players, I was like, okay, my goal for this mod is I want someone in the world to be better at my mod than I am. I want there to be people who have like surpassed my knowledge with hexcasting, and I have succeeded in leaps and bounds. And I am I'm so proud of this community, except ironically. Thank you so much. Could you add a tater spell? Kicked and banned. How I'm writing lore for my Teshik mod, and you should too. Shameless plug for something that we can't see because I forgot to read it beforehand, and it's gotten off the mod. Sorry, whoever that is. Be more brev. Wait. So brevity is a word. Is brev an adjective?
Yep.
Okay. Be more brief. Brief. Thank you. Be more brev. More brev. Be more
Brev
brief.
is fun.
Yeah. How would I go about expanding the lore aspects of current mechanics in my mod by Octal? Let's see. Well, I did come up with the mechanics of hexcasting before I came up with the lore, and I guess you know that thing where like game theory channels do, where they like take a mechanic as like, what are all the implications of this? And it's often kind of silly, but like it doesn't have to be silly. Like it can, yeah, it's just a game theory. It can be like, what if you did that and ran with it? Like some of the greatest things are like, okay, I've written a mechanic of this mod that's kind of funny. This would be weird if it happened in real life. What happens if that like actually happened, right? Like I remember thinking of some really cool lore like earlier for like a world I had building. Was like based off of like Enderium ingots from thermal expansion. It's like, what are the real life implications of having an ingot of metal that constantly resonates? Like resonates under where does the energy come from? And so I thought of okay, maybe it like consumes its mass a little bit every time it vibrates, and you can like set up resonations in it and have it oscillate back and forth, and then you can like gather the energy from that. There's no hexcasting trailer. Do I think tech? So yeah, that's how I do that. Just like write stuff, right? It doesn't have to be good. Do I think tech mods are overrepresented in the community by dark hacks? If so, why? If you mean, do you think there are more tech mods than magic mods, or do you think, yeah?
He got
Okay.
launched.
Yeah, someone launched me.
Oh, did someone smuggle another staff out of the frickin' booth again?
No, they
Ow.
can't.
It's actually really easy to smuggle them out.
Not anymore.
It used to be through the card binder, but then you just drop it on the ground and it lets it out.
Also,
Now-
I did it too much and I've been target. Yeah, I can no longer hold these. They disappear in my hand.
Yeah, that's for everybody.
Yeah, it's okay.
Someone was briefing with them.
Oh man, wait, really? I thought I disabled all the. I thought I sent you to like a deny list of all the dangerous spells.
Yeah,
Well-
I thought so. I pinged you in general about it. It might not have been you though. There's like a whole bunch of mods on here.
I don't think you can place block. I can check.
Yeah, you
You
can.
can't
Time, I
explode or
swear.
anything. It's only change. You can change NPCs' sizes. I think someone was doing that.
You can change people's sizes.
Yeah, but you can change NPCs' sizes, I think, and mess with them.
We're doing
RV
live.
and I figured that out.
Yeah, so somebody did a mass Pekui. You can totally. Oh shit. I'm very good at my own mod.
Live coding always goes bad.
Yeah. Then you sum those. And I need to find the place block spell. I forget what that looks like. What's that look like?
This
Okay,
is
you
me
start on the
actually
right hand
coding in real
side.
life.
Yes, place block has been disallowed by server admins. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, from somebody else.
Victory Royale.
You can there's a thing called zone dissolution, which is like I can get everyone in here. I can get all the players in like a certain radius, and then I could like make you all small or make you all big, or I could like
Send us to hell.
Yeah.
send it. I don't think I disabled greater teleport. Make use of it. So I could like teleport you all to like 20,000.
Oh yeah, yeah. People were teleporting and
That's so
stuff.
funny.
So
Yeah, I can totally
From
make
the
use. Here, thank you, test
Stronghold
subject.
locator spell.
Here I can make you small healer. Look
Hopefully the healers already
vector,
are.
scouts reflection. Let's go like 0.25. Set scale. Blink.
Hey.
Baby healer.
Celestial,
Little
let
tiny
me
healer.
let me do.
What do I
Yep.
Okay,
small.
okay, calm down.
Anyways, onto Dark Hack's question, which they patiently asked 1,000 years ago. I'm assuming this means like, are there more tech mods than magic mods, or like, are there whatever the equivalent of market share, if you're not a horrible econ bro, is for tech mods? And it might be easier to write tech mods. Like, you don't have to write as much documentation. It's easier to come up with mechanics for them because tech mods are very mechanic based, and I think a lot of people that play modern Minecraft are here for the mechanics. Like, modern Minecraft came out of things like Tekkit, came out of like make enormous factories. There was not a single manual in all of Tekkit, right? And so I think it might be a combination of the player base, and it's just easier. But it's easier because modders are part of the player base, maybe. And so that might be why. What are your thoughts on passive lore? Like the Wither painting or Velocities, or like I guess another example is how Minecraft sort of is like passively
okay, this time someone could hold on. I
guess
gotta
how
reset that.
how Minecraft is sort of like passively post-apocalyptic, and I think that's really cool. Get your player thinking. Like one of my favorite types of short stories is this genre called magical realism, which is basically like weird, wacky shit happens, and you sort of have to figure out what the hell is going on. Yes. I'm sure there's lots of Axolotl fans over here. If anyone wants a complete mindfuck, they can go read Axolotl by Julio Cortázar. And it's like there's this like guy who goes to the aquarium all the day, all the time, and like stares at the axolotls, and he just like thinks about axolotls all the time. And then one day he's staring at the axolotls, and then he just there's like he suddenly like moves through the glass and switches places with the axolotl and then like the axolotl in his body goes off, and it's really weird. It's really cool. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of stuff is really cool. Fridge horror. Get your player thinking. And there's some like threads I left in Hexcasting that purposely don't, like, the player is wrong. The player character is wrong about a lot of things at the start of the game and even at the end of the game. And so I think part of the interesting things is that the extended lore documents will teach you more about what happened in the world, and you'll sort of have to put the pieces together yourself, because I do have like a idea of what happened beforehand. Right? What about making the Wandering Trader offer scrolls? I don't know. I didn't think of that. However, as you may have if any of you have played with late game hexcasting, you might be able to divine my thoughts on what I think about villagers. Yeah. Dark Hacks already asked this question. Can there be too much lore? That's called a book. So I guess not. Okay, yes, that's being a little facetious, but I just told more. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a little bit disappointed if you go and if you go to play it, like, ooh, I'm gonna go play with this mod now, and then it's just read a book. Like, you could just go read a book. So like, make sure you do actually have mechanics in there. Like, on the other hand, a mod that was just like a list of interesting lore could be interesting. On the other hand, like readable books, you know what I mean. On the other hand, like Minecraft lore is both vague enough and like game theory to hell and back, that you probably want to have something to have the lore be about. But yeah, right, like a fiction that happens to take place in Minecraft. do it. Like, I want weird and wacky stuff coming out of this. Right? Applause, thank you. Wenix Hexcasting available on Fabric.
Yes.
Tomorrow, hopefully. We are currently playing a bleeding edge version of Hexcasting. On the server that I've given the Blanketcon people special access to. We're ironing out a few bugs. There's I really wanted to make an applause trinket because there's a spell that creates a sound. But there's a flag that should a spell make the boink sound when you're done casting with it, and that doesn't take effect when you're casting it with an artifact. And that's a problem. And so I can't make a applause trinket because I just have a boink 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 trinket, and we can already make those. So yeah, it should be available tomorrow. Hopefully. Sammy, try it, I guess. Why is Hexcasting not on Moderate? Because I need the ad revenue from CoalsForge. Sorry. Also I'm more used to CurseForge. But yeah, if and when Moderate, I did not go to the Moderate talk, so you probably already covered this. I don't know what the word on that is, but
Soon TM.
Soon TM. All right, awesome. Just like yesterday and the day before, and the so yes, once it's soon, tomorrow. For any more questions, see this comment tomorrow. I will probably put it on Moderate. The user experience is definitely much better on Moderate, I think. What would you most want to add to Britannia's lore? I don't know. I think Britannia sort of has its. I've never really written any fun lore, like Hexcasting. Actually, living in the world of Hexcasting kind of sucks. You learn this art and you go insane devoting yourself to it. Stop saying tater. I'm tired of hearing it. In Discord it's tater. In Blanketcon it's fucking tater. I was doing a talk at Blanketcon, right? And all the audience members were tater. Anyways, I think what you should do is you should add the Vasky X whoever it was fanfiction directly to Britannia. But yeah, Britannia I've never written fun, lighthearted lore, and I think sort of what it has leaning against the fourth wall is the only way to make a mod that's weird and funky like Britannia work, and is also kind of matches Vasky's personality. So yeah, I don't know. I have no experience writing this kind of thing. But it could be interesting. I think Wire Sequel wrote a mod that sort of expands on the lore of Alfheim, for example. It might be best to keep that to add-on mods, but I don't know. Try stuff, see what sticks. Okay, did I start Hexcasting with lore mechanics first? Is it better to start with one or the other? This is sort of not a question that is that dichotomyable. Because I've had both the idea for the mechanics and kind of the lore for a long time, and I only put them together now. So, cool and fun fact, Hexcasting, the mechanics of drawing spells by casting things on Hexgrid, that was originally going to be a roguelike. I coded up the whole spell system in Rust, and I had an ECS system and everything, and then I was I don't actually want to make the rest of the world right now. But it's gonna be inspired by Noita, and they're you're gonna have to find spell scrolls in the world, teach you all the patterns, and it's gonna be cool. And that sort of came from a combination of being frustrated with Mana and Artifice's whatever it's called system, where you to craft something you also have to draw a pattern in the air, and their system is super fiddly and it never draws what you want it to draw. And it was also inspired by I used to watch a whole lot more game design talks than I do, and I watched a lot of Jonathan Blow's talks. And he talked about during the design of The Witness. That the game that eventually became The Witness was he was going to make a mod where you cast spells by waving a wand in the air. And one of the things he wanted to do is there would be a giant mountain at the center of the world. And you wend your way up the mountain, and then when you look down, you find that the path you took, if you trace it, that's a valid spell pattern. But he couldn't figure out how to make it satisfying, and he had a lot of problems with matching it. And so we scrapped that idea, and it eventually became The Witness. If you play The Witness, do not get any spoilers. Please, for the love of God, do not get any spoilers. It's so good, you're going to have your mind freaking blown out of your skull. So yeah, this mod is sort of inspired by what Jonathan Blow couldn't make. So I'm not saying that I'm a better game designer than Jonathan Blow. But yes. So the lore is a lot more abstract because I go through ideas a lot. I go through like ideas for worlds and stuff a lot faster than I do for mechanics. But like this is inspired by I took a lot of inspiration from Cultist Simulator first off. I took inspiration from this horror podcast I like an awful lot called The Magnus Archives. I'm sure there's lots of fans of that in the audience. Fans of freaking the Mysterious Fentic Society for like, and Aragon for like abstract, horrible, going insane. And like what it's like to write abstract, like completely abstract thoughts away from concretions. So yeah, the lore is a combination of a whole lot of things. Yeah, I think Lemony Snicket said, is it so awful that I want to read a story about a whole bunch of horrible things happening to people? How would you go about writing lore in a more adventure mod scenario, like for a boss the player has to fight? Off the top of my head, do it like a D&D campaign, I guess. Like D&D does a really good job of like hyping up the big bad villains, or like in D&D, I guess it's more like episodic and drawn out, stretched out, or maybe TV shows. I have not actually played any D&D before though. I've DM'd a little bit, but I'm very bad at it. Actually, that's incorrect. Ender Zombie, more headpats. Unless you don't want headpats. If you don't want headpats, you can refuse headpats. Please, ask to touch people. So yeah, I don't know. But like maybe take inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe take inspirations from like fantasy TV shows. Maybe take inspirations from epic fantasy. What is my favorite feature in the mod? I think it's everything that distinguishes it from. Okay, well, one thing I've done really purposely with the design of hexcasting is. Oh, yeah, my pronouns are wants headpats. The two genders, liberals. I'm sorry, there's only two genders. It's wants headpats and doesn't want headpats. My favorite features in the mod is I've purposely kept everything very, very tight to the mechanic of casting hexes. Like the only thing that's like removed from that is like edifying trees, which is like you can infuse a sapling with media and it produces like purple wood, and that's what the booth is built out of. And that's mostly because Valkyrie drew these nice textures for the Akashic libraries, and I wanted there to be purple wood to make them out of. And that was a mechanic I'd never seen before. Like, actually, that's not true. That's a mechanic every single freaking mod does. Yeah, grow a tree and something happens is like the most dead mechanic in the entire world. But I wanted purple wood, and Valkyrie drew three nice leaf textures, and so like the leaf colors are randomized per tree, etc. And like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of trees. Sorry. Also, they're pains in the asses to code. So yeah, everything is super, super tight to the mechanic of casting hexes, and I like that. Another thing I like is everything that distinguishes it from Psi. And I think that feature is how you can save iotas. So if you haven't looked at the booth, iotas are like iotas are the word for data, like the things that go in your stack. And I like the fact that you can save that to a focus or to a spell book. A spell book is like an enormous library of focuses, and you can there's like Akashic libraries, which are like in world libraries, real libraries of foci. I don't know if anyone's figured it out yet. I haven't checked on the booth in a while, but there's basically like an open access Akashic library that you can just write stuff. Thanks, G2. There's like an open access Akashic library you can just like write stuff to. I've written a couple numbers there. Yeah. Maybe don't write yourself to it because then anyone can extract it and mess with you. But yeah, write vectors, write whatever you liked there. Yeah, because only yeah, that this mod is not simple. Yeah, so that's something I like about hexcasting. If you want, just shut up. The coolest thing or the most fun to implement thing I've made in hexcasting so far? The most fun to implement. I don't know. Writing Java kind of sucks. Writing Kotlin kind of sucks. Sorry, Wire. God, I've just forgotten everything in hexcasting. Like, is there any content in this mod? I don't know. Spell
That
circles were
happens.
pretty fun to implement. I wish I'd not them call them spell circles because like I did an oopsie with like the naming convention of this mod, and that nobody calls like it's like sort of a running joke with myself that everything, all the internal names in the mod and all like the things that are presented to the player are completely different. Like in the game, like iotas are called spell datums, and like actions are called operators, and like media is called mana, and stuff and stuff and stuff. And it's probably a bad decision to do that. And then also everyone calls the action spells. Why did I rename the code? Because I have to like do API stability and whatever, and I also don't want to. Like I'd have to rename like 300 little files from like op whatever to action, like action whatever, and I just don't want to do that. But for the 1.0 update, we're going to do all the breaking changes we wanted. Anyway, spell circles, those are fun to implement. Wire's working on this like crazy multi-part system. So spell circles are getting a huge revamp where you can like put slates on like multiple sides of a block at the same time, and you can get like Valkyrie do a whole bunch of really pretty textures, and it's cool and it's great. So that'll be fun to implement. If I'm writing a tech mod, should I make it somewhat anomalous, a la SCP? I guess so, because like unless you're making Terra Firmacraft, like there's always going to be some distance between how things work in real life and how things work in the mod. Like not everyone is Greg. But like a sci-fi tech mod, like there hasn't really been a sci-fi tech mod other than like hand weaving, you know, like like immersive engineering. Immersive engineering is grounded reality, right? Like everyone knows what a crusher is. You crush things. Everybody knows what a macerator is. You macerate things. You destroy things. You pulverize things. Everyone knows what a redstone furnace is. You Amazing Spider. Yeah, so if you want to write lore for like nobody's going to want to read lore about a macerator. I mean like you could. Or like you could have a story. Like where are you getting the blueprints for this macerator? One thing I've wanted to do Maisie is a cute cat. One thing I've wanted to do for a while is make a mod pack where you like crash land on a planet, and it's low tech, but you have to like keep your equipment running so you don't asphyxiate. Like I really like The Martian for that reason. Is that Mark Watney, like there's such a stark disconnect between Mark Watney is like super intelligent and knows how to operate all his machinery, and he has to keep it going really, really, really fucking well, or else he'll fucking die. And he's in like this super high tech machine, and he has like this oxygen generation system, and then he's like, mixing his poop with dirt from outside and growing potatoes inside. Right? It's really cool. I want something. You've met me. I fucking swear all the goddamn time. I think that's an interesting design space. Stop punching Sammy. Yeah, Hexcasting 18 plus edition. No, I'm not gonna write that.
Yeah.
No, shut up. From my perspective, how did I know if I was being ableist? I don't. I mean, like, I try, but like that's what you need sensitivity readers for, right? You always want a second and a third and a fourth opinion, all right? Right? It's hard to tell whether you're being ableist or not. If you're doing it in good faith, people probably won't get that mad at you. But like still please be careful. Is it really fair to compare everything? Oh shoot, I accidentally double clicked. Is it really fair to compare everything to real life, or is that being weird? I mean, we live in real life, unfortunately. I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Is it bad to... Yeah, it would make it more immersive, but you can also like go outside and start a garden. Or not start a garden if you live in an apartment.
Like how the SCP universe has like humes and stuff, which is a measure of how much reality there is. And it has like SCPs that are like meta narrative. I'm using that as a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, take inspiration from anywhere. Like, I'm not going to tell you, you must write a mod like this, right? I'm giving you guidelines and not restraints. Like, one thing, one saying that I'm fond of that I stole from Mark Rosewater is restrictions breed creativity. which is well, that's why I made all the slides 8 colors, for example. And little tiny pixel art just to make it more creative, to make myself do it by making a game out of it. Yeah, so I don't know. Right, whatever. How did you get inspiration for lore? I already discussed some of my inspirations. There was color blending? No, there wasn't.
Yeah, there was. I remember there was color.
Well, those were of 8 colors. Like, I think so. Like there's like I even put it in the little bottom right hand corner. There's only 8 colors in all the slides. If there was color blending, that wasn't supposed to happen. It is that 4 of the colors are different shades of purple though, so that's how I did the blending. Maybe I don't know. It looked fine from over here. Maybe it gets like mapped and blurred from that far away in the audience. I wanted to make it like legible from all the way back the back seats without needing a spyglass. Yeah, purple is a good color. Open your inventory, type in Hexcasting to Emmy, and see what I think about purple. Yeah, how do I get inspiration for lore? I already discussed that. Read a lot. Any mods that do lore terribly? Not lacking lore, but having off lore? I don't know. I have a lot of modder trap, like Will was talking about, in that I never friggin' play Minecraft anymore. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't played a lot of Magic mods recently, honestly. I love the private pigments. Thank you. Yes. I asked Valkyrie to draw a bunch of those. Sorry, Valkyrie, but thank you. They look so good, and I'm very glad to have all of them. Yeah. I want to my moderation strategy is to make my mod like actively toxic enough to like chuds that they won't want to play with the mod. Yeah, the crafting recipes are all jokes. Yeah. Most of the crafting recipes are jokes. Some of them are just like items I couldn't think of, but like, yeah, Moss is non-binary because I have a friend named Moss who's non-binary. Intersex is Azalea because I have a friend named Azalea who is intersex. Gay people are it's stone wall. It's a stone brick wall. Sammy, it's stone wall. It's you throw bricks at the cops at the stone wall, and so that's why it's gay. Yeah. No, Sammy. Yes, the plural one is a repeater because it's repeating, etc., etc. Yeah, and anyway, if there were mods that do lore terribly, I wouldn't just roast them. I would just think about it. Yes, there's a plural one. It's I hear there's plural pride flags that are like fraught, like the specific colors. I copied the one from the I've copied the one that the quilt Pride logo uses loading, so I figure if Quilt think it's okay, yeah, it's probably gotta be okay. Yeah. Asexual is bread because there's no garlic bread. Agender is glass because it's like see-through, I guess. Arrow Ace is arrow because Arrow Ace is seeds now. I don't know why I made that. Aromantic is an arrow because it's an arrow. Demi-boy and demi-girl are copper and iron because the alchemical symbols for copper and iron are the female and male symbols, but it's like raw iron and raw ore because it hasn't been like refined all the way into like all the way male and all the way female or something. I don't know. Yeah, trans is an egg because I'm fucking hilarious. On a scale from no lore to interactive book, where do I want Hexcasting to be? I do want to know. I guess I didn't talk about this in the talk. What's the subject now? The subject is I have enormous ADHD. And the topic is wherever my less train of thought and more little like ATV of thought goes. Where do I want Hexcasting to be in terms of lore and where is it? Something I didn't talk about in the talk is that I don't want to bog the player down with lore. Like reading lists of facts also gets boring if the list of facts is just world building, right? And so that's why I made the decision to like bump the advanced lore out into like external documents that you can read if you like, so you don't have to. Yeah, there's a ton of questions. People like this mod. Yeah, I am coming up on time, but apparently there's not another talk for 2 hours, so I can just sit here and talk and talk and talk.
Can if you want. Yep.
Yay! 2-hour talk. Yeah, so I think with the addition of the external lore documents, Hexcasting will be very fine. And there's some like when I was writing like the intro documents, there's some like things about the canon I've changed, so I want to brush those up, but I think I've already done so. Yeah, how did I find such great and talented artists? I don't actually remember how I met Valkyrie. I think we were both on Moss's Discord server. And then one day, she just like started submitting textures. She was like, "Hey, like I had all this like shitty dev art for the mod, and then one day she just like submitted stuff. She was like, "Hey, what if I retextured your entire mod for you and just sent you an enormous a sprite full of files?" And then I just kept asking her to write stuff. Yeah, thanks.
Valkyrie's textures are great. She's doing Britannia now as well.
Yeah. I'm super proud of you. Clap, clap, clap. You, I wish I could pay you more. When Hexcasting merch? Okay. I know this is a facetious question, but I have a friend who has an embroidery machine, and once she gets back home, she's going to print me a patch with like the Hermes Gambit symbol on it. And like I'm super fucking excited because I have this like jean jacket that I'm putting all sorts of patches on. And like holy shit, I want to cover, yeah. So if enough people want it, maybe for like $1 million or something, I don't know. Sell little patches. Sell shirts. We need more copy pastas. I did get my first copy pasta on Hex though. It was like the politest homophobe ever. It was so funny. It was like, hello, I noticed all these strange items in the inventory with various colors after their name. Yeah, Hexcasting is not an instruction manual, although I just made that one up. I noticed all these strange items in the inventory with colors after the name. I'm not really sure what they're for, but they seem to be magic, and just like magic, they don't exist. It was like, Jesus Christ, you, like, politest homophobe on the entire planet. It was so fucking funny. Please do not spam the issue. Please do not spam the issue with comments. I do not want to feed the trolls. I just marked it as, like, won't fix, resolves, invalid issue, closed it. Cracked me up. What was the most difficult thing to make ever? Like ever in my life? I'm not gonna answer that. In the mod. During the 0.9 update, when I was porting to multiloader, Wire kept doing patches on the main branch, and then I did a political. Yeah, political colorizers was a bad joke. Internally, the Pride colorizers used to be called political colorizers, and then I realized that was not a funny joke. People wouldn't get it. Yeah, that was poor of me. Anyways, yeah, so Wire kept doing patches on the main branch while I kept porting things to Hexcasting on. While I kept porting things to multiloader on freaking brain moment on the the multiloader branch. Yeah, and then Wire spent like 4 days of incredible fucking effort merging everything together. It was pretty incredible. The hardest thing I've implemented, the logic tree for what to do with regards to introspection, retrospection, and consideration along with normal patterns, that was pretty difficult. Although L1B and Wire have like rewritten the evaluator twice each. Basically, it's like continuation based now. I have no idea how the fuck it works. Yeah, I made a meme a while ago that was like, I make a new evaluator for a mod. I make a new evaluator for I make a new evaluator of the project. L1B is cheese to clean up a couple things. They completely rewrite the evaluator from the ground up. I never understand how it works again. They've done this like 3 times now. Like I wrote a Lisp and they like rewrote the entire thing so it has tail recursion. I don't know. There's more. My size is 1.2. Stop fucking changing me.
Stop changing each other's sizes.
I'm tired of doing it. On Blanketcon, it's changing its other side. Are there more balancing? Are there more balancing our lore changes in the future? Yes. Yes. She is. She, her, it is. Yes. Yes, there are going to be more lore changes and balance in the future, probably. I mean, the lore is kind of hashed out, but yeah, there's going to be balance changes. Where did I choose the word iota for data and media for concepts? Iota, I like complicated words. I just like having lots of words in my back pocket. Iota was, Iota, I guess Iota was kind of taken from Golang, honestly. even though I don't like the language very much. But like the word for like something indivisible, something very small, something like a snippet. So I think that's a pretty good thing. And media for concepts. Media is sort of a pun on Oh, that's why I could walk up the lectern because I was big. Yeah, media is a good word for concepts because it's sort of a pun about one. It's like media as in like a way of conveying information, like social media, or like you can talk about like a book is a media, audio is a media, a movie is media. And because it's like thought energy, I thought that was a good name for it. And also, yeah. It works as mana, but this is why I named it. And also, medium as in like the thing you write with. Like you can say a sculptor is in these media, an art is in this, a painting is in this media, this medium. And so I liked that dual meaning, and so that's why I picked the name. And also, like every single fucking mod and its grandma names its power source mana. Like Britannia has mana. Stop posting about mana. I'm tired of using it. Yeah. How do you even make magic mods? They seem much more complex than tech mods. Practice and just doing a lot. And yes, it's called mana internally. How do you make magic mods? They seem much more complex than tech mods. Practice. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't see how making a magic mod would be much different than a tech mod. I don't know. God, there's a lot of questions. Stop being inquisitive. I'm mind flaying everyone, so they stop asking questions. I'm not gonna do that. The Between Lands mod has a mechanic of experimenting with geckos to like figure out what they do. How do you do that? Like, is that a research mechanic? I guess. I'm gonna start answering these more briefly. I'm tired. I usually play vanilla to see what parts get expanded on. Is that a good idea for mod development? Yes, I think so. For example, the Sentinels. Honestly, I first created Sentinel on my Hexcasting testing server because I wanted to like mark a place in the world and be able to see it through a wall. And that was like the original. That was like the original spark, the original impetus for Sentinels. And then I think LWinfy had the idea. Okay, what if it expanded your reach around it? Like that's something that side absolutely does not do, and that adds like new cool PDF, PvP scenarios. Yep. How do you get more developers without scaring them away? I do this very clever and nefarious thing where I develop a friendship with people over years and years and years. And then I casually ask them to work on a mod with me, and they're happy to do it. It's manipulation and extortion in the utmost, and I'm an evil and horrible person. Relating to a previous. You just need to get better at it. Relating to a previous question, do you plan on including in other lore books, like One Hidden Structures, that aren't as much docs but flavor? Yes, I already answered that. That's what the lore documents are going to be for. You right-click them, you'll unlock a random patching entry, unlock a random visually entry of the ones, and then if you run out, you get experience. And I'm planning to add another use to them, just in case you don't care about the lore at all. Is there somewhere we can see the dev textures? On GitHub, everything's on GitHub. Just like go back 1,000 fucking commits. Old source screenshot. The original Reddit post for the mod had the dev textures in it. Let me see if I can rustle that up. God, I have a lot of windows open.
Mood.
Please stand by. No, I did change this curse for screenshots. Hey, nobody changed the thing. Yeah, anyway, if you're interested, Psych, that brings you to my Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. That brings you to the original lore post, I think. Oh, not the original mechanics post. What's the best way to think of fun features like headpats? Okay, so headpats has like a long story. First off, it was inspired by the Quark feature where you can pat dogs. Landora, unfortunately, it has to be expat. Yeah, yes, usually I'm getting to that. What's the best way to think of features like headpats? So, it originally started in Quark where you can head pat dogs. Thanks, DX here, I'll get there in a minute. Stick it. Are the questions still up? Yeah, write it on a book and stick it in the. Oh, the hoppers are down. Just kidding. I'm taking more questions, just so she can write that. Although I'll just consider that one. Never mind. You don't have to write it. Oh, does it? I don't know, Lambda. Or also, I don't want to rewrite. There's like 100 more textures now. Best way to think of fun features like pets. Quark. Pat the dogs. I extended it so there was a flag to let you pat all mobs, including players, and then I hard-coded myself as a beep and a couple friends as like purrs and stuff. And then I decided to like wire like super spruced it up, and then I implemented it in Pockle because I wanted to stop hard coding UUIDs in there. And then when I made a Patreon, wink wink, one of the Patreon rewards is you can get a custom headpat sound. You can submit me like any open source OGG or any inside any Minecraft sound, and you'll get it. And like you also get like custom colorizers. Like if you've noticed, the colors that happen when I cast spells are like red and yellow and stuff and purple. And that's because yeah, you can have a you can have a colorizer that you pick from the booth, and there's like a bunch of pride ones and stuff. But you can get custom ones. So that like the soul glimmer pigment, the normally that generates a random color from your UUID. But you can pick whatever colors you like. Just submit me some hex codes. And you also get a little message when you log in for the first time. It says like, "Hey, thanks for donating to my Patreon." Yeah. Hex codes, yeah, yeah. So, things have long stories, right? Things are always more interesting and less interesting than you think they are. Am I the only one who thinks mods put way more effort into magic systems and the like and lore than other media? From Dead Blockman. No, I don't think so, because other media, like, oh, frick, I forgot to define what lore is at the beginning of the talk. Okay, what I meant by lore is like anything that is not just mechanics, anything that is not rote teaching you how a mod works. For example, I would consider the immersive engineering manual to be like 0% lore, it's just mechanics. No, I'm not going to restore the hard talk. I've been talking for like an hour, 10 minutes, my throat hurts. And so I would consider most media all lore from this definition. And I don't mean lore like whatever like Luna does or whatever, or I don't know K-pop. Or like ARGs or whatever, but like a book is just lore. So I think this question only comes up because I didn't define the word lore, because it's a little bit like everything, like mods in games are like some of the things that have the luxury of it not being only lore, interestingly enough. And then questions, yes. My face is an @ sign. And then yes, you can I do mod commissions. If you want a cool and epic mod made by the person who made your favorite mod on the entire server, of course, Hexcasting, you can go send me a Twitter DM, send me a Discord DM. Yeah, Petra Cat. I'm not Petrak at Petra Cat. Send me a Twitter DM, send me a Discord DM. I'll send you a quote. I've devoted most of my time this summer to doing mod commissions. Yeah, I would really appreciate it. I think we can come to a mutually beneficial agreement. So yeah, please subscribe to my Patreon. Please commission my mods. Download Hexcasting on CurseForge. It'll be out for 0.9 will be out with like tons of new features. Tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah, and please write more mods with lore, and don't make your mods listen to mechanics. That's all the questions. Thank God. Thank you. Oh.
Infinite questions.
Yes, you can commission mod features. You can absolutely do that, yes. Clap, 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 clap. Next time for Blanketcon, I'm absolutely making like a presentation mod that adds like little hand clappers and like vuvuzelas and like laser pointers and zoom ins, and yay!
That would be amazing.
Thank you.
I have a ton of
I'm turning my voice chat off. God, my throat hurts. Okay.